Well, they're inching ever closer. I think Manchester United are relaxed. I think they're going to get their man. I think every possibility is being sort of covered. I think even if they wanted to go and do a medical with him in the US, he's currently on holiday there. They could go and do that in a hospital there and send perhaps one of their staff over from Manchester to the US just to supervise that going on. If it got down to the stage that the clock was ticking down and what they wanted was Pogba in Manchester on the training ground and not in a hospital or even in the facility they have at Carrington at the Aon training complex to carry out a medical. If they decided, right, we need him training, they might go and do that medical somewhere else. But I think they are relaxed. They've been involved in big deals like this before. But on the other end of things, notably, of course, setting a transfer record, receiving a fee for Cristiano Ronaldo, they'll break the transfer fee, the world record, that is, bringing Paul Pogba to Manchester United. And I think, as I say, they're determined to do it. I don't think they'll pay any price to get him. I think they know they'll have to pay a big price to get him. And I think it will be in around the sort of £100 million mark. But I think they are determined to get him, and I think you only have to listen to Jose Mourinho, and he talks about bringing 4 players in. He's got 3 of those already. He wants a 4th, but I think there could be other additions too, following on fast from the likes of Paul Pogba. But clearly Manchester United are concentrated in the task in hand. I think the player wants to come back to Manchester. I think the agent is trying to sort out a deal with Juventus. I think there are all sorts of things payments-wise to sort out and establish as well. But I think it is a when rather than an if. But I think Manchester United fans are probably sick of hearing that. And I think Manchester United would like to think they can get a player within the next week, so that at least they've got a week to work with him, of course, before their Premier League season starts away at Bournemouth.
And outside of the Pogba deal, James, there are lots of talks about other potential ins and outs at Manchester United. What's your feeling as far as what Jose Mourinho's priorities are at this moment in time?
Well, I think the most telling thing is, and we didn't get to speak to Jose Mourinho last night, he rushed through the mix zone. I think he was anxious to get back to Manchester, was the squad that he brought to Sweden. They're now back in Manchester. There was 23 men in that squad, and I think they're the 23 men he wants to work with. Additionally, of course, with other transfers perhaps coming in for the entirety of the season, which means there's no place for Bastian Schweinsteiger. It means there's no place for youngsters like Adnan Januzaj, Tyler Blackett, some of the front playerings, of course, like Will Keane and James Wilson, who will be offloaded either temporarily or permanently. And I wouldn't rule out other incomings either at Manchester United. I think I'm led to believe that they'd like to strengthen up things defensively. Ideally, I think he'd like to bring in a right back and maybe even another centre-back. We saw last night that Eric Bailly has all the credentials of being a great centre-back. He has pace, he can read the game, he certainly has the stature, but he looks very raw and naive. And if you look at alongside him, alongside the likes of Daley Blind or even perhaps Chris Smalling, Jose Mourinho might decide he wants more experience in that back four to bring Bailly through. So I think there will be other purchases, that there will be outgoings at Manchester United. And I think the most significant of those, as we've been saying over the last couple of days, is that Bastian Schweinsteiger has probably played his last game for Manchester United already.
So Schweinsteiger, a potential big-name departure. But we've talked a lot about the money involved with Paul Pogba. We should mention their first arrival was a free transfer, wasn't it? Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and what a free it might be as well. What kind of an impact has he had on the squad so far?
Well, you're right, it was a free transfer, but I think his salary is anything else but free. I think if you ask Zlatan that he's been very well rewarded by Manchester United to come and wear a red shirt and be their new number 9. But it's funny, in this country, Zlatan splits people right down the middle. There's people who absolutely adore him, there's people who hate him. But if you're in either camp, you're captivated by everything he does. This country is always hanging on every word and every little bit. You talk about the star quality there. The Swedish journalists were absolutely intent on knowing what we would make of Zlatan. And 4 touches into the game last night against Galatasaray, he showed what he's about. I've got to say, it's a goal that has been described as a scissor kick in the stadium. Watching it in kind of real life and real time, it looked less spectacular than it does on the TV. It's more of a volley that goes in, but certainly the directions there, the goalkeeper diving late makes it look perhaps a better finish than it was, but there's no doubting about it. Zlatan has gone to every club and won things with every club. He says an awful lot. He's clearly a person to say that splits the people here in his home nation, but no doubt about it. That was a perfect storm last night. His Manchester United debut, wearing the number 9 shirt, coming back to Sweden, playing in Gothenburg, and then scoring on his debut after his 4th touch. It does show you that maybe Zlatan Ibrahimovic is the sort of fairy tale that Manchester United are looking for. And I don't think it's just about his stature and about his goals. I think he's been significant in his transfer dealings, Jose Mourinho, and bringing in a player that's going to lift this club. I think the only perhaps question mark is the pace that Manchester United have. They have it on the wings and the likes of Memphis, Mkhitaryan, of course, other players who can can bring an awful lot of pace, notably Marcus Rashford. But what Zlatan doesn't give you, and what Wayne Rooney doesn't give you, is pace in the middle. And it'll be interesting, when we know that pace is so important in the Premier League about bringing success, what Jose Mourinho does in the structure of his team to make the pace count through the middle and provide the opportunities for Zlatan to score. Because I think the feeling at Manchester United is if he gives Zlatan those opportunities, he will put the ball in the back of the net. But a famous start for Zlatan, and I've got to say, here in Sweden, they were absolutely delighted that their talisman is off to a winning start and off to a scoring start with Manchester United.